Hey everyone, this is Tom from MonTac here doing the Weekly MonTac Matchup, and today we have got a top 8 competitor back, ready to go. Technically, they are top 5 at the moment. ZweiStein is here. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing good today. I just woke up, but yeah.
Nice. Well, we've got a couple of interesting matches for you this weekend. We've got about 6 solid matchups. We've got a lot of very interesting. Now, let's start off with the very first one. We've got Black Saber from the Netherlands taking on Tailsuit from the US. Both of them have quite similar records, both only having one win this season. Looking into this, it's definitely my prediction will be Black Saber coming in with a pure mutated variant because of their access to mutated Apex. And then Tailsuit, I believe, from last week's meta chart, they'll most likely come into this with some sort of mutated Torosian hybrid. So this is really going to be a battle to see which is going to be better in this age of hybrids, whether it's going to be hybrid mutated or pure mutated. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, from what I've seen from the mutated Apex, it's a very good specialty removal card, especially because it basically forces you to remove your own specialty unless you have normal removal. It's not like Torosians really have access to normal removal on their own. I don't know if mutated do. Do they?
Mutated have less removal, they're more of discard specialties with the mutated bat and the dragon. More of a discard orientated deck, that one.
Well, Torosians are pretty vulnerable to specialty removal, so I don't know how much Torosian Tailsuit runs, but if they're running a lot of Torosians, then I think the Apex will be able to disable that part of their deck, maybe.
Alright, so would it be safe to say you're picking Tailsuit for this matchup?
I'd say I'm picking Black Saber, actually.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Alright, that's going to be very interesting. I was only saying Tailsuit because they do have Predator, so I think that could be quite interesting if they're able to get that to work on that Apex, but yeah. Now, the next match we've got this is actually quite a very interesting match. We've got Shadow with so much experience. They were in the very first MonTac tournament. They took a little bit of a hiatus midway through, but came back and have just really started to find their pace with a tactician deck. Now, of course, they may change. They think they could potentially change, especially if this match does not go well. But they're facing Sparrow, who's making their debut. You're also... I believe you know Sparrow beforehand as well, so I think Sparrow most likely will use at least the most vague I could say would be an aggressive deck. But if I'm specifically saying an archetype, I think it's going to be Rogues just because they've got more experience in the practice sessions using them. Now, based off of obviously the limited information, I have to say though, Sparrow did play incredibly well in the practice matchups. So this is going to be I think this could be a really, really close game.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty close too, because, I don't know, I'm a little biased because I know Sparrow from another server, but I think he'll do really well, and maybe he'll be able to win this match. I like in the predictions, I was a little risky and went ahead and voted Sparrow. I was like, I don't know if he'll be able to win, but I just have this gut feeling that he will somehow.
Fair enough. All right. Now, the next match we got, I think, is quite interesting. We've got Shadow Galaxy Wolf, of course, rank 7, taking on Dan B, rank 10. This match might be even closer than you might think because of the fact that Dan B's Steel Edge is a heavy counter for Shadow Galaxy Wolf's Torosian control. So this could get quite messy for her if she's unable to manage that and get rid of those axe heads before they can go off. Obviously, you've got a little bit of knowledge on both decks that are currently playing. What do you think would happen? What do you think is going to happen in this match?
Well, I would say Shadow Galaxy Wolf is a great player, but Steel Edge are just really unpredictable and hard to play against, especially if Torosians are countered by them. I'd say that Steel Edge will be able to win, especially because Shadow Galaxy Wolf hasn't played in so long, like properly, except for her Moose game last week.
Yeah.
So I think Dan B will be able to win this. However, I wouldn't underestimate Shadow Galaxy Wolf. I think it'll be really close, but I think Dan B will be able to win.
It's a big win for Dan if they do get it, because that will put them, if not in top 8 immediately, it will put them incredibly close. So they'll be right back in there, and we've seen how devastating Steel Edge can be to the top ranks with Misfire taking the title after beating both Apocalyptic and Badger back-to-back, who are using Sky Soldiers and Terosians, two of the most common meta decks currently there. And Danby has taken up very similar little playstyles because he was watching that grand final. So he's done a couple little tricks he's learned from Misfire, and I think that could be a really dicey opponent to come up with in that top ranks. All right, now let's get to your match. Now this match, you guys have clashed so many times, but each time it is always so very different. There's always a new deck. There's always a new card. Coming into this matchup, obviously it's been a couple tough previous matches, but how confident are you coming into this match? And if you are to get it done, how do you think you're going to shut this down?
Thing is, it's so unpredictable. I don't even know how to feel about it because I don't know what he's running, and I don't know how he's going to use some set 4 cards to his advantage. But I also am going to use set 4 cards to my advantage, so it's very unpredictable.
Well, that is just it, isn't it? Obviously, I think Apocalyptic is going to have some rogues in the deck. I mean, why wouldn't they? Although they did just lose a pretty big match to Misfire in a contender match, so they might just sway completely and try to redo something crazy. Or they'll try to do some sort of variant. We don't know. But, I mean, what I can say is you've got quite the deck as well. Surely something to do with life gambles when you show up next, but that could be anything. Speaking of which, set 4 wise, obviously you've seen Apocalyptic pick up a couple. It'll look more of a defensive style, but you've got quite the advantage with that Darius. I mean, that literally gets you to, no matter what Apocalyptic ends up using, that's a massive advantage right off the bat for you to be able to see what he's playing.
I think my Darius is a better tool than having his 2 defensive set 4 cards. But depending on how he uses his strategy, he maybe will be able to beat me, especially because I have a history of losing to him.
And if you're to play that resourcefully and focus on how you're going to dismantle them with Darius, that could be a massive change and really throw this into a whole nother perspective. But yeah, no, that's going to be an awesome match to behold. Let's get right into the next match. So the next match is quite interesting. We've obviously got Doozy from Vietnam taking on Tamoose from the US. Now these players, these were from the top 15 back in about March and April. These players just really never left that top 15, top 12 spot. But now here they are playing in a contender match. The winner is getting the next title shot. Doozy, now a former champion. Tamoose just coming off a nice win over Shadow Galaxy Wolf. What are your thoughts on this game?
If you would have showed me these two people battling out for contender, I would not have believed you a month ago. But now that they've come so far, I feel like they're both really skilled, and we can't underestimate them. Because they may look like they're young and they don't know what they're doing, but I feel like they are more skilled than they look. And Doozy's been running Tactician, which I have openly said I do not like Tactician multiple times. And Tamoose is running Sky Soldiers, and I think Sky Soldiers are also a very underrated deck. And
well, it's Bandit Sky Soldiers, so that's I don't know. This is going to be a really hard match to call because both players have a really good way of winning. So, but who would you say overall would be taking this?
I'd say I'm leaning more towards Tamoose, but Doozy could also maybe win this. I think it could go either way, but I'm leaning just a bit more towards Tamoose.
All right, fair enough. Now, the last match we have, now the reason I've let this for last is because it is such an uber match. Charging Badger, I mean, really, these players, they're both former champions. Now, they're both 2-time champions. Let me just grab this real quick. We've actually got the achievements they've all done in the game of MonTac. We've got Misfire as a 4th player to hold the title. Obviously, like I said, 2-time champion, and won both titles with different decks. The first one with Dragon Angel and the second one with Steel Edge. Charging Badger, 3rd player to hold the title, 2-time champion as well. Has been the only player to win multiple titles with the same archetype being Sky Soldiers, and has beaten every champion except Misfire, who he cannot seem to get past, and I believe they matched up 3 times before. But what Badger does best is they overcome the nemesis, and we could see that this weekend. Obviously, you've had some tough matches with both players, but overall Badger has been pretty rough. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, both players, as you've said in the past, are like contenders for the GOAT of the game, which is like the best player of all. Misfire and Badger are like really polar opposites when it comes to how they play, because Badger always stays to like the same type of strategy and always uses that to his advantage for the match itself. Like he'll change his playstyle a bit during the game, whereas Mistfire will change the deck completely and go for a completely new strategy in order to not be exploited or to exploit the opponent. So I have no idea. I think I honestly don't know. I've been saying Mistfire, but Badger could also easily win this. I've never won against Badger. He's one of the 2 people I've never beat. And he's one of the 3 people to ever beat me in a competitive match. And I think Badger can win this too. It's really a really close match, and I can't really call this one, but I'll say Misfire just because that's what I've been saying, and I feel like Misfire overall might be the better player, but just because they're more versatile overall.
Mm-hmm. So would you say out of that, in that GOAT conversation, you would say Misfire is the greatest of all time?
Yes, I would say Misfire is the greatest of all time.
Ooh, I know he watches these, so he's gonna be giggling, won't he? I do have another question for you. Now, we've had a bunch of these meta charts coming through. A lot of new decks are constantly being shown as, every week Apocalypse puts them up. And we've got obviously last month it was all pure decks. I believe that was because there was a lot of new cards being set out, so everyone wanted to test out the decks by themselves. But now in November, we're starting to see a lot of hybrids to the point where it's at least 50%. We could see more than 50% this weekend if this keeps up. Do you think these hybrids last, or do you think it kind of fades away in the meta?
Well, I think the hybrids will last, but not to the extent that they're at the moment. I think 1 or 2 players will probably stick with them, but I think the surge we're seeing will die down very soon, because especially when we have new players coming in, whenever they come in, they will probably not opt for hybrid decks, and it'll probably just revert back to being mostly pure stuff.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and making the time as your busy schedule. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
All right, fantastic. Well, like I said, appreciate you having on board. If you have anything more to say, then I will see you at your matchup, and I hope you all have a great week.